will you do when they find me? Don't be scared of yourself.
Hi, I'm Dawn.
And I'm Ashley.
We would like to welcome you to the Work It, You Are Worth It podcast.
We're two friends sit around and talk about healing, growth, and healthy relationships.
Hey, Ashley.
Hey, Dawn. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been a nice long weekend. It's the 4th of July weekend here, so I've been out of work since Wednesday night, Wednesday evening. So, yeah, 4-day weekend's always nice.
It is. I did not have that liberty. We had to work Friday, which is okay. It was all right, but didn't stop me from being busy. So did some dinner with girlfriends on Wednesday and had a great time, and then did the same thing last night. So, right.
Nice. We went out and did fireworks on Wednesday, Thursday, and yesterday.
Ah, fine.
Saturday. Yeah.
Okay. I can sit at my
I love
window
that.
and watch them.
Yeah, see, we have to actually go because I'm in the country, so we actually have to go somewhere. And I love that Cameron is, my 13-year-old is all about it. She'll go with me and watch all the fireworks.
That's cool. That's fun.
Yeah, so it's been a nice weekend.
Good. So I've had some stuff. Like I have a little bit of stuff going on, and it's not. It's like, I know you understand this. It's like it's not anything that's gonna break anything. It's not my recovery is not in jeopardy. It's not anything like that. It's just I got these little feelings, these little thoughts in my heads because I've got so few things are going on, and I'm really trying to navigate them.
Is it taking away from your peace?
I can keep it in check most of the time, but I find my mind will wander to it. And
Gotcha. I'm dealing with that too this week. Like
Okay.
it's a story that just keeps coming back up, and I get control of it, and I take care of it, and I let it go, and then it comes back up again. Is that what you mean?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Let's do that. Yeah. What's going on?
Okay, so there's a few stories that all kind of are that this is happening with. So this weekend I am actually I'm doing my first of my 2 scalloping trips this coming weekend.
Yay, fun.
Yes, I can't wait. I'm very excited.
I know how much you love scalloping every year.
Yes. So I am very excited about it. Get me in the water, finding scallops, all of that. It's fun. This year is this time. So I'm going next weekend. I'm going the following weekend. The following weekend is my more traditional trip, where I get up in the morning, I drive up to the location, I get on the boat, we go out, we come back, we go to a fish store they make all these yummy fish dips, and then we go to a restaurant, eat lunch or a late lunch, and I come home. So it's very secluded, very right.
Like it's a whole day event, just very specific people that you're attending with.
Yes, and I don't really always know anybody, so there's a lot that is like very superficial kind of conversations.
Okay, a lot of independent time too.
Yes, very much so.
So this isn't a group of friends that you do a tradition with every year. This is like a bunch of strangers all pay a price or something and do this.
Yes. Now, I will say this. There's probably half the group has done it every year, but the other half can join, if they maybe not are not as consistent about going.
Okay.
So meaning I don't see them ever.
That's what I was going to say. Are they people that you would interact with during the year in between these events? Okay.
No.
So yeah, definitely a very independent full day of, right? You're not alone by yourself,
right?
But you are acting very independently of anybody else.
Yes. So that trip, very comfortable with it. I can navigate that one, very well. I've done that one, I don't know how many times. It's been 5 years now I've been doing that trip. So not worried about that one. That one is what I expect it to be. It'll be great. It's just going to be, I know what to expect.
Okay.
The one next weekend is a little different. So there's about six people that go on that same trip, and they always go in like the primary boat. And I say this, Joe, I use this analogy because it just fits. Like they're the cool kids. You know how remember when we were in high school?
They get the good boat. They get all the good gear.
Right, they're always together.
The A team.
Yes. So
are you worried about being the third wheel out?
Well, no. So I am the person that coordinates all of this had called me about a month ago and said, "Hey, Dawn, I have a proposition. We do this a separate trip every year, and this will be just 6 people. Every year we do this, and it's a one-off trip, and so it's really kind of nice. It's a small, intimate group. They're really, they are a lot more friends, do see each other more during the year and all of that kind of stuff. And I've met all of them, so it's not like...
Is it the same 6 from the trip next week?
Yes.
Okay. So not total strangers, people you've gone with them multiple years.
Yep.
It is the original group.
Correct.
And this is another additional trip that they do.
Yes.
That they called and invited you to.
Exactly. So the first trip will be 6 people. The second trip, the one that's going to be more independent, there's going to be like 18 people. We'll have 4 boats then. But anyways, so of course, she's like, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to drive up because it's a little bit farther. Friday night, we'll stay the night. We'll get up the next morning. We kind of a little leisurely breakfast. We'll hit the water. They're maxing out, and so she's like, if we max out really quick, the captain will just take us around. We'll hang out and play in the water. Then we'll come back. We'll cook up our, the scallops. We'll stay the night, Saturday night, and then Sunday we come home. So there's right. So there's some of that. So she's like, "Do you want to go?" She's like, "I think you'll be, I'm looking for someone that doesn't have any drama. I know you don't have drama. I know you don't bring drama. So you want to go." Well, of course I want to go. I love scalloping. I didn't even give it a second thought at the time because I just was like, "Oh, scalloping. Yay. I want to go again."
So your authentic initial response was excitement and ready for it.
Yes.
Okay. Important note there.
I was so excited that the conversation happened in probably 20 minutes and she had her money within that 20 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
There was no hesitation, no anything because, right, I love scalloping. So it's like, yay, great. And I really, then I could let it go because, right, it's been a couple of months, but now it's getting closer.
Right. It's next weekend.
And now my little stories are starting.
Anxiety.
Yes.
Fear, worry. Like, I just went and saw Inside Out 2 with my daughter a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
So, such a cute movie. But I can see, right? Anxiety jumping in there. Like, ooh, what if this?
Uh-huh.
Oh, what if that? A little bit of envy. Oh, these people have known each other and they're friends. And, right? I can see those emotions those stories.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's, I'm sitting here thinking she sent out a message last night and now, again, it was able to kind of like avoid it all. I didn't have to not avoid it because I wasn't avoiding it. I just wasn't thinking about it. But now it's a week away. So now we're starting to have conversations. Who's bringing what? We need this. We need that. Her and I are going to, the one that invited me, her and I are going to ride up together. She lives right next to near my parents. So that's great.
It sounds like it's all working out.
It is. But then I go into these little things. I don't sleep well.
Right, but so the details of what these stories are, I don't necessarily think that's important. Because those stories, and I just say that because, right, we're on air and who knows who's going to listen or who's going to hear and who might be hurt by some random story that is in our heads that, right, it doesn't mean anything. It's a story that we create we don't even create it intentionally, right. I don't think. I think subconsciously these stories are created what do we do with these stories, right? So when these anxiety or envy or whatever the feeling is, and these stories creep in that are worry and fear, what do we do with them? What do you do with them?
First of all, what I like, so last night it really, yesterday is really when this all started more. Because again, conversation. She called me. And so now I'm thinking about it. But like last night, for example, and it was very much as I'm feeling all these, like it kind of feels like popping, like the little I have all these little tingle popping things going on, these things in my head that are, just coming up and come and
Like little bubbles of idea, like boop, there's one,
yes.
boop, there's one, boop, there. Like what if? Like imagine you're, I don't know, 18 again and getting ready to go to prom. What if I break a heel? What if I trip on my dress? What if I
Yes.
fall down while I'm dancing? What if I choke on my food, right? Like just all of these, I see how you're saying, like these little pops, like boop, 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 boop.
Yes. And I know they're there. I know what they are, right? Recovery has taught me what they are. So I'm able to say, like, okay, no, that's not rational, or, oh, that's not going to happen, or, oh, and I can talk my way through them. I think that's what's made it like kind of successful, is because I don't just let them continue to happen. Right. I'm now, and I think part of my recovery is, before I would just let them all happen and I would just overthink them.
Right, follow the story. What if my heel breaks? Well, if my heel breaks, then I'm going to be on one-footed all night long, and I'm going to be walking funny, and I'll probably fall down, and
Yep.
blah, 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 right? Instead of, like, playing into the story instead of the next pop coming up.
Right. And so here's I'll tell you the one that I was thinking of last night before I went to bed. My pillow. I don't sleep well. Like, I struggle sleeping, and one of the things that I like to do is travel with my pillow.
I do that too. Oh my God. I bring my pillow everywhere.
Yes. And I'm like, should I take my pillow? I don't want to maybe I shouldn't take my pillow. I don't want to overpack, and I don't want to but I need my pillow. If I don't take my pillow, I'm not going to sleep as well. So I really should take my pillow.
And like, even if you spent 5 minutes having this conversation with yourself, what were your reasons that you wouldn't take your pillow?
What if they think what are they going to think?
What would they think of me,
What are they
right?
gonna
What
think?
if these people see me walk up with my pillow and they laugh at me because I need a pillow, right? Like, who really cares about your pillow?
Right.
None of it was about I won't be comfortable if I have my pillow. All of it was about I'm not going to sleep well if I don't have it.
Right.
And there's no good reason not to take it except a fear of other people's thoughts,
Yeah.
feelings, or opinions, which nobody cares about a pillow.
No. Exactly.
Right? Like, but I have that exact same conversation every single time I go somewhere on whether or not it is appropriate for me to bring my own pillow.
And I'm like, I'm okay. So I don't know about you, but I can't use feather pillows. I'm allergic to feather pillows. So if I sleep on a feather pillow, my eyes end up swollen shut. And feather pillows tend to be cheap, cheaper pillows, and right, it's a whole thing. So it's like, for me, I need my anti hyperallergenic pillow and I like a foam memory, and I sleep better. And I mean, I'm going to be on water. I'm going to be on the water for 6 hours. I need to get in a good night's sleep.
So instead of getting wrapped up into this story, which is what I would have done in the past, I would have spent 20 minutes thinking about what everybody's going to
Yep.
think of me for bringing my pillow. And then I would have finally let go of that and decided that it was worth it. And then I would have had the next thought is, well, should I bring my water shoes? And
Yeah.
do I bring my pink ones or my blue ones? Because if I bring pink ones, am I just a girl? Or maybe my blue ones, I'm trying to be a boy? Or like, just absolutely stories that I am making up in my own head that have very little meaning, that I would spend hours, days, weeks just acting as though they were a reality.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy to see the difference of now where I can have that fear, I can have that worry, I can hear that story, but then I recognize it.
Right.
And instead of spending hours, days, or weeks on that story, I am able to let go of that story in minutes.
Yeah. And so last night when I walked, it popped up when I was walking in my room to get in bed, and I was, the pillow, and then by the time I laid down in bed, I was like, oh, I like my pillow. I'm taking my pillow. Like, it happened that fast. Another one, we are on our own for breakfast on Saturday before we head out, and I'm like stressing about what I should take. Not stressing. I don't want to use that word because it's not debilitating, but it's like, what do I take? I got to make sure that I take the right food, and I need, I don't want to take too much, and I don't.
Like, what if somebody doesn't like the way that my ham smells when I'm frying it for my omelet? Maybe I shouldn't take ham.
Right.
Like, I would literally go into stories.
Yes.
Like, who cares what ham smells like? Who's thinking about what their ham smells like when they have to make breakfast?
Yeah.
I did. Now, see, what I'm finding is starting to bother me, and tell me if you're on the same wavelength
Okay.
as me here or not. Where I used to get stuck on one story, and that story would last for days and really just drive me crazy, I can now let go of that story, but then another story comes up.
Yes.
And another one, and another one.
It's the
and I
popping.
feel like I'm consistently like, okay, that's a story, go away story. Everything's okay, that's just a story.
Here comes another one.
Non-stop.
Yes. Yes. They're bubbles that are coming up, and they burst, right? When I think about it, it's, I picture myself as a little kid, there's bubbles flying around. They're popping, and I'm,
Right.
that one's good. Oh, pop that one. Oh, pop that one. But
And it's a thought, and it's another story. Every bubble that pops is
yes,
another story.
But more bubbles are coming because I have the stupid bubble machine over here, and instead of just physically walking over to the bubble machine and saying, "No, I'm sorry, you're not serving me well, bubble machine. I'm shutting you off."
How do we do that? I think that, right, popping all of those bubbles is the first step to realizing we want that bubble machine turned off.
Yeah.
Do we though? Right? Because I don't know. I don't want my thoughts to turn off. I don't want them to
Right.
go away. So maybe that bubble machine never turns off. Maybe we just have to select which bubbles we're popping.
Maybe,
I don't know.
Maybe instead of having it on 3, I have it on 1. You know what I mean? Maybe I slow it down. Maybe I don't know. I'm with you. I don't know. Because I don't think I want the bubbles to ever stop. And the part of why I don't want the bubbles to stop too is every time I pop a bubble, there's this inner little piece way deep down, and I think it's my little Dawn probably, that just smiles because you popped the bubble. You let it go. Good job.
Right. Like, I don't know. So, right, I can't have peace if I don't have worry.
Right.
Right? I can't understand happiness if I don't have sadness. I can't have light if I don't know darkness. So if, like, I think being in the recovery program, being in the healthy living program, the emotional sobriety program, CODA, whatever you want to call it, being active in my day-to-day living and doing it the way I want to do it instead of just being on autopilot, for me has helped a great deal, right? So if I look back where I was 5 years ago or 3 years ago or even 2 or a year ago, the worry and the fear and the stories were 10 times more than what they are today.
Yeah.
Granted, they're not only at one, right? I'm not getting one fear or one worry or one story in a situation. I'm getting bubbles still, right? Pops, many fears and worries. But along with those come the opposite side of that, where I'm talking the story down, I'm interrogating the story, I'm becoming aware of what is actually happening of my own accord rather than somebody else telling me.
You know, the one thing I with this whole situation that I realize is, right, the fear, those the stories that I'm telling myself, and that fear and the apprehension of going. I also know the other side of it, where it's going to be fine and I'm going to have a great time. Like, I know that is what the end result is going to be.
Right.
Maybe
And
maybe it won't be, it won't come close to the stories I told myself, right? But I do know myself, and right through recovery, I have let go of control and what controlling my fun looks like. And that I can find fun in any situation. I can find enjoyment in any situation. And it's how that's kind of for me come about is where I just don't care. Meaning, oh, somebody wants to go I will say skydiving, right? I won't skydive, never in a million years. So I can say, no, that's not for me. Oh, do you want to go over to this, you want to go bowling? Okay, bowling, not a bad thing. Okay, yeah, I could go bowling. I think what it is I've found some fluidity in myself that as long as, it's like I can look at whatever scenario it is and be like, yes, I'll do that. No, I won't do that. And I can then.
authenticity in yourself.
Yes. And so by finding that authenticity, I can make decisions that I usually don't have a bad time, or I'm going to really enjoy myself because I'm just going to really do the things that again, it's not about like, I love this and I only want to do this. It's like, it's more of, this is a no, and this is a, yeah, I would do that.
Right. I can have fun while I'm doing this.
Right.
Or no, that's not necessarily for me. I'm not going to enjoy myself while I'm doing
Right.
that. Right. At one point in this podcast, we talked about some people would absolutely love to have dinner at the outside wall of a 20-story rooftop restaurant, where other people are like, absolutely not. I'm not even going up there.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a bad thing. What is good for one is not necessarily good for the other. And we have to be able to say authentically, yes, I would enjoy doing that, or no, I don't think I would enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
I think, right, so today is Sunday. Cameron leaves Tuesday night to go with her father again. She will be 800 or so miles away, and she will be gone for 9 days. Again, just like the last time, there's stories, right? Actually, there's not a lot of them this time. I'm very surprised, and I think maybe that's like turning that bubble machine down simply by being aware of what bubbles were popping. So there's a couple of consistent stories still, and I know they are my stories. Again, with being on air, I'm not going to share details of those stories because it's not fair to those people. I feel like I keep saying that because I want to stress to all of the listeners that these are not, the stories in my head are my stories based off my traumas, based off my thoughts, based off my past life. It has absolutely nothing to do with the people who are currently living these situations, right?
Can I interject here for one quick second?
Yeah.
I agree with you on that. And I think one of those things where our trauma that we carry today came from our families, our previous generations, our people, our families that were, our parents or those kind of things. They didn't have that awareness to say that these are my stories, these are mine. I know they're not true. I know how to navigate them. They were given to us, this these were formed for us because of their lack of understanding and how that works. And I think we are better and things are getting better because now you just said it, right? These are my stories. They have nothing to do with Cam. They have nothing to do with Nick. They have nothing to do with anyone but me because they are my old stories.
Right.
And I want to say, right, that's why it's so important to really stay focused, working on yourself, because if I focus on what that person in 20, 30 years ago did, I need to understand why they did it. I need to understand my mom had trauma growing up for herself as a little girl. She brought that trauma. She had that trauma raising me as a little girl. She didn't know better. She didn't know any different, right? Then I get my trauma, right? The trauma passes on to me, and I put some of that trauma on Dylan. Do I feel it's diluting? Yes, I do. But it's not anyone's fault from the prior, right? It's not who
Right. They didn't know they were operating out of trauma.
Right.
They thought they were doing their best.
Yes.
They thought they were doing what was right, what they should do, just as I did and even in that moment, if they knew that what they were doing wasn't necessarily their best, they couldn't do anything different or else they would have.
Exactly. And so I want to, when we're talking about, the trauma that I had as a child and all that, we are not berating anybody. It's not negative. We understand that. We understand how that trauma worked. We understand how they were trying to navigate it through. And I understand that I can do it a little differently. And I think that's what you're saying is now I'm aware of that I had trauma. I understand the thoughts that come into my head are related to my trauma. And,
right. If I'm not aware of it, I can't change it.
Right.
If I'm not aware of these ancestral or genetic traumas, right? If my grandfather grew up in the Great Depression and he didn't have food for 5 nights a week, he went to bed literally starving, he is going to parent my father in a way that food is an extremely important thing, right? So then my father is going to parent me with this idea or this mentality that food may be hard to come by, so we need to save money and we need to make sure we have food. And it plays out without us ever even being aware of it. And so once we're aware of it, it is extremely important to know that this story in my head, it is not because of the other person, right? Let's use the same story that I had from weeks ago with Nick and Cameron, because that story is still there, that he may not bring her back. I don't know any parent, father or mother, who is not with their child's other parent who cannot understand that fear, right? Every single parent in the world, I think, has had that thought in their head at one point or another. Oh my God, what if they don't bring my child back? That fear has no basis in reality where Nick and Cameron are concerned. I know that. I 100% logically know that without a shadow of a doubt. And yet, I still had a dream about it last night, right? I still wrote in my journal about it. I'm still sitting here talking about it right now. It doesn't matter that I know it's not going to happen. It does not matter that logically I understand that it is not a fear based in reality. However, having a father who was not able to be a part of my life when I was a child, having children whose father is not a part of their life, having an ex-husband who attempted to kidnap my child twice, that fear is a reality. The story is not based in reality. And if I wasn't aware of those traumas, then I could not possibly be aware that story is not based in reality, even though the fear is. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. So how do you, I mean, talking to you today and talking to you a couple of weeks ago with this whole thing of navigating Cam leaving again, what's changed for you? Because, right, I know you're in a different headspace with it. How did you get to a little bit more of a disconnected headspace?
You know, it's funny you use the word disconnected, because what I was going to say is a little bit less emotional, right? I'm a little bit more emotionally disconnected. I am. And how I got there was just consistently reminding myself that this story, and again, I'm only talking about this story. There's other stories, and they have their own trauma basis, but I have to talk about them on theirs. But this story, I have to remind myself that the fear is real because I lived it. So it's okay that I feel the fear. I have to be accepting and loving that, yes, this fear is real. It is not fake. It is not a lie. It is not bullshit. It is not control. It's not manipulation. It's fear. And it's okay to be afraid. I think I heard myself when I listened to the podcast say, courage is not the absence of fear. It is the ability to proceed forward even while I feel fear. So the fear is real, and that's okay, and I have to accept that. And at the same time, I have to remind myself that this man is not who that man was. This child is not who that child was. These details that are so very different change the entire situation. So the story of the situation that I am putting in my own head that, oh, he's just not going to bring her back. Yes, the fear's real, but the story's not. And that's not going to happen. And I have to accept the fear and remind myself that I cannot act as though that is going to happen when I know that is not going to happen.
One of the things you just noted, and I've had this thought with this whole trip thing, was thinking maybe I shouldn't go. Like, there's been some of that in my head that maybe I should. Not saying it's not a full on thought. I'm gonna not go, but there's those behind the scenes.
Maybe I should not let Cam go.
Right. That's there.
Right.
Though that is a thought that is there.
Without a doubt, I cannot prevent that thought from creeping in.
Right.
Because the logical resolution to resolving the fear of what happens if they go, what happens if I go, what happens if she goes, the logical resolution to that is, well, then don't go.
Right.
Right? If you don't want to be afraid of what
Protect
happens
yourself.
if...
Run. Go the opposite direction.
Of course.
And the problem with that is I feel like because that has been such a majority of my life, that's what I did. That's how I navigated through this, because that's all I knew how to do was running, was avoiding.
Right. Well, and then the other side of that too. Well, if I don't go, that I don't get the experience. I don't get the fun. I don't get the right. If I don't let my daughter go to her father's, I am stopping her from experiencing 9 days of one-on-one time with her father, who she hasn't been with in a month.
Right.
All because of my fear.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, because I've lived in that place of backing out of things and not doing things because of the fear, and letting the fear become debilitating. My life, and I have said, like, my life and the last 5 years has been amazing. My life over the last couple of years has been exceptional. When I look at a lot of the commonalities of my life, it was, here's an opportunity and I would back out. Here's an opportunity and I would back out. I would let those fears take over, and then I would prevent things from happening and allowing them to happen. And I can I can sit back and I can say I missed so much in life because I let those stories run wild and take over any possibility of thinking, what if you have a good time? What if it's a good time? Then what? Right? If you're going to, and one of the things, I've said before is, I'll say is, right, if you're going to tell yourself a negative story, always tell yourself a positive story, because if
a positive one that matches the intensity of the negative one.
Exactly, because it is possible for both to come true, or neither to come true, or one to come true and not, right? You've got to be able to know, if you're going to tell yourself stories, tell yourself all the stories. And I think that is part of what helps me get through it now, is because I'm not just telling myself all of the bad and the negative stories. I'm also telling myself the good stories. What happens if I go next weekend, right? There's a chance might not be doing scalloping trips anymore. This might be the last year. I love scalloping. What if right? Oh no, she's not going to be doing it anymore. Now what? How am I going to do this? Well, maybe I take over and I do the trip every year. Or I have such a great time and they're doing some traveling up to different places. And this actually happened. She was yesterday when she called me, she's like, hey, we're doing another trip on such and such a day. Do you want to, not a scalloping trip, but an actual trip. Would you be interested in going?
That's awesome.
Right? Hey, I'm doing this dinner experience.
New experiences.
Exactly. And I think, but what I would do before would be I'd stop it before anything could go anywhere, and I would just be like, no, and I'd make up some stupid ass excuse where I couldn't go. And then the thing is, then I would think about all the opportunities I missed because I just couldn't say, okay, it's one weekend. If I don't like it, it's okay. If I'm uncomfortable, it's okay. I just don't have to do it again.
Somebody told me once, maybe more than once, that if I am afraid of something, it is most often the thing I need to do.
Yeah.
If I am afraid to do something, most often, that is the one thing I need to do in order to grow.
Do you remember back when I was going to New Orleans, and I had the same fears then as I do now?
I do. I remember that.
Yeah.
Like, what if we don't have fun? What if we don't end up liking the same things? What if I end up by myself? I remember talking about that with you.
Right? And I had a great time. The trip was perfection. I had my own independent time. I had time with her. It worked out. Now she keeps nagging me to travel more with her. I'm joking because I love her and she wants me, right? She wants me because it was such a good experience for both of us. And if I would have backed out of that, it really would have kind of cemented my fears. And it would have just kept, I think what it would have done, it would have just cemented those fears and would have kind of perpetuated me continuing to do that, kind of give me permission. And by me standing up and saying, no, I'm going to do this, whatever the outcome is, bad or good, it doesn't matter, because my life is good. I am enjoyable. I am fine by myself. I am fine with someone. And I pushed through and had a great experience that's going to make the next one just a little bit easier, and the next one a little bit easier. And maybe I'll always have these little stories in my head before I travel. Right? Traveling is a scary thing.
I don't know. I think if we take ourselves back 10, 20, 30 years, you probably had way more stories at a way higher intensity than you do now.
Oh, heck yes.
So maybe 30 years from now, those stories will be 100% non-existent, or maybe they'll just be like this little tiny grain of salt that you just brush off the counter. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Because right now, I look at where I'm at and where we're at and hearing us talk to each other. And already, while the fears are there and the stories exist, they are not even close to insurmountable.
Right.
Right? They're like a little molehill that we have to like step over or stomp down. It's not this mountain anymore that it used to be, right? I remember just the idea that my oldest children might go and visit their father would send me into a sheer panic attack. Never mind the situation, it was the stories that I was telling myself. And now the idea that my oldest children might go visit their father, while uncomfortable, it does not send me anywhere near, right? It's a little uncomfortable. It's not a panic attack. It's not devastating. It's not world ending. That's already huge. And that's just in my own mind with my own changes, considering myself. Then if you add in the other people in the situation and their changes and their growth, and 9 times out of 10, I just look at the situation and go, what the hell am I even worrying about?
So one of the other things that happened this week, Dylan's car is going through some struggles. He's had it a while, and he had it in, I don't know.
I remember just a couple of months ago.
Yes, for the transmission, they fixed it, they found a leak, fixed it, and then a couple weeks after that, wasn't even a couple weeks, it was about a week and a half, he had an issue again and found a couple of other leaks. Well, he calls me the other day and found out that his car wouldn't go into gear. So number one reason car doesn't go into gear is lack of transmission fluid, blah, 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 blah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So took it back to the place to find out, they're going to take a look at it, and they had replaced the pan, which the gasket is connected to the pan. And so very possible, maybe they messed something up, whatever, but this is, he's without a car again. And so yesterday, we're talking through it, and of course, I remember these days, and I'm not going to discredit his feelings and right, the stress of he's trying to finish school. He's got 2 years of school, needs this car to last him the 2 years, cannot afford a new car. He's a little stressed.
I remember the passion and intensity of young adult life.
Yes. It is the unknown, right? I feel like life is unknown now for me. That life is not a full unknown for me either. Ed is 53. However, there is pressures in your late 20s, early 30s, where you don't know everything, right? I think it's at that point, it's where the first part of it where you realize I can't control everything, and I don't know everything, and there's uncertainty and all of this. So
right, and I have all this responsibility and all this. Yeah,
yes.
like I'm an adult. I am fully grown, but I'm not fully prepared.
Right. So he calls me, and I'm like, well, we'll figure it out, get it in, this, and this. And then, of course, he's like, Mom, I can't afford a new car. And I'm like, well, I understand you can't afford a new car. And we're not going to worry about affording a new car right now. We're going to worry about nothing. We're going to let them tell you what's wrong with the car.
Right. Wait until you figure it out.
Right. And that doesn't mean there was not discussions around, okay, you need a new car. If you need a new car, let's say they can't fix it and we have to get a new car. I've done my research, right? We were been online, trying to give him information. Because he is in that he's in that panic mode. Remember that at
Right.
that age, like
Oh, yes, I remember.
where you got to call dad, got to call. I would always call my stepdad. I would be in a panic, and I'd call him, and like he would give me that rationale, and I could
Always.
calm down. And that's the place I'm at now with my kid, and it's kind of I love the feeling of it. It's great, and I'm like, okay, Dylan, here's what I found, blah blah blah, and with this, and we've got options. We're not in a. He's like, but I can't, and I'm like, Dylan, we've got options. We aren't stuck. There is no only one thing we can do. You've got options, and it's okay that we've got options, and it's okay that we don't know what the option we're going to use is, but at least we have options.
Right. At least you know that you have choices.
Right. And we know what those choices could be. That doesn't mean they're going to be accurate or come true, or there's not going to be some twist on them. We got kind of two choices. His car goes out. They either can fix it, they can't fix it, and we have to take it somewhere else to fix it, or he has to get a new car, or a new car to him. That's really it.
And none of that is within his control at this point in time.
Exactly, because we know nothing. But it's easy to, and I find, especially from a financial perspective, that's been kind of always been a little bit of a, for me, very triggering. Financial is one of the things that, I really tried to control, and it's not something you can control. So there's a little, this fear, the timing, and that's the letting that go and knowing that it's going to be whatever it's supposed to be. And I'm having a conversation with my higher power, right? I am not going to leave my son stranded to figure out this on his own, but I'm also taking a stand where I'm not going to tell him what he needs to do either.
Right. You can't fix it for him.
Right.
You don't need to come in and take control and take charge and fix it for him.
Right.
And at the same time, you're not just going to leave him out there trying to figure it out himself, right?
Exactly.
Treading water, trying to keep his head above water, right? If I can talk you through it and support you and help you in whatever way I can without putting myself out, that's what parents are for.
And that's exactly the way I look at it. It's, what does that look like for me? I don't know yet. I do know this. I have done and will continue to sacrifice a lot for my son to get to the, where he's gotten in his education, and he has 2 years left. Like, he can see the end of his education.
Right. It's right there.
It's right there. I know, making my choice, and this is right. This is me knowing and navigating myself and my own thoughts. What am I willing to do?
Right, and the key to this, though, is without putting myself out.
Exactly.
Right? You have bills. You have a home. You have another son.
Yep.
You have a car. You have a job. You have responsibilities that you have to maintain. And this is still your son.
Right.
I don't think this is a one-or kind of situation. I think this is very much an and. Right? How do I support you and do what I need to take care of myself?
Right.
How do I help you and make sure that you reach this finish line without killing myself to do it?
Exactly. What decisions do I make based on your reaction and how you proceed in your choices? Because I think that's a factor as well. I
think that's a huge factor.
If he's sitting back doing nothing and just picking up the phone, mom, 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 I might not be quite as helpful. If he's in there having conversations and taking charge and navigating this, and so
actually trying to figure it out.
Like, so the last couple of repairs he's paid fully himself. Didn't ask me for money. I did not offer money. Because he didn't want it, right? It wasn't like you could tell he wanted to do it on his own. I let him do it on his own. Well, he's put $1,000 in his car in the last couple months, like last month. This third one, he might not be able to afford himself because he's put money out on 2 other ones. And I feel like, right, it's me knowing He's not asking. He hasn't asked. He's not going to ask. But I also know by paying attention, living life, I think that's the other thing too, right? I mean, I know the money he has coming in. I know the money he has going out. Okay, maybe he's taken and stepped up in multiple different ways. Okay, maybe I have to step up and help in this way. And that's okay, because again, I have the right and the power to make my own decisions for me without hurting me.
Correct, right? I mean, and it's not anybody else's decision or opinion or
Exactly.
thoughts that matter. You know what is best for you. You know what is right for your life.
Yeah.
It's not up to anybody else except you.
Exactly.
And it's your money. It's your bills. It's your responsibility. If you give too much to your son, that's on you.
Yeah.
So it's not for anybody else to say what they do or don't think about it, unless, of course, you ask.
Yes. And I don't ask because I'm sharing a story. I'm not asking for your thoughts. I mean, that's, I think,
Right.
the thing. And I look back at my life, and one of the things where I have some shame in my life is I would tend to give money, buy things for individuals, to buy their love, to buy their affection, to keep them in my lives, to show them. I hate the 5 love languages. I mean, I think you need all of them, but I do show my appreciation and stuff through gifts. I like to buy gifts for people. But I've done that to the extent of harming myself. And I don't look at, I look at it as like, I've done this for people that are nowhere in my life and haven't been in my life for years.
Right.
And I want my money. I want my time. I want the things that matter to me and are valuable to me. I want them to go to the right people. And I can't think of a better right person than my son, but both my sons, right? My friends that are there for me, and most importantly, me.
Absolutely.
So outside of that, like, those 3 things are on the list. Why would I not help my son to the best of my ability without harming myself?
So I think that's an important way. What you just did, what we just listened to you do, is an important way of deciphering a story versus reality, right? What I want to do versus what I'm going to do versus what I should do. You went through and you interrogated your thought. I want to help my son. Well, can I do it? Can I do it without hurting myself? Does this make sense to do? Is this truly what I want to do? Like, we just heard you go through the entire self-interrogation process and come to a decision on what you wanted to do. I think that's a great example of how we should do this every day.
Now, it doesn't mean, I mean, I stretched my brain there. I mean, right, maybe it seemed easy because I've done it, and I've done it.
Oh, it's not easy.
No,
It's definitely not easy.
Because, right, to challenge yourself, to challenge the stories in your head, it can be a battle.
And it's energy consuming.
Oh my
it can be
God.
exhausting.
Yes. But I do know what is important to me. And like noting was, right, I've given to people that I should not have given to. And there are people that I want to be able to give to. And my kids are I want to be able to give to my friends. And again, it's not just financial, right? It's not a monetary thing. I have, these friends, and I have a couple that are friends that are just such amazing individuals. I want to put energy into them.
Right. I mean, so for me, what I hear you asking is, do I authentically want to do this?
Yes.
Right? That's what, like, you're saying it in a different way, in a different words, but that is what I hear you asking yourself, is if this is, right, do I want to give to this person, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've given to other people that has hurt me. If I give to this person, will that hurt me?
Right.
And having that conversation with yourself is what we have to do in order to decide if helping is what we want to do, is what's healthy for us to do. Because as healthy codependents, great codependents, not healthy, but great codependents, we help without ever considering.
Right. And again, I think, like, I'm just reiterating the fact that it's not just about helping from a financial, it's helping, it's like, what energy, what
when I say helping too, I time, energy,
Yes.
thought, emotion, everything, like giving of myself to another person.
Yes. And I have to be very selective and be aware of of who I'm giving to.
Of who I'm giving what to.
Yes.
Right? Because while one person may deserve monetary help, they may not necessarily deserve emotional help. I don't know. I'm just coming up with crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But still, like, right? While John may deserve affection and attention, John may not deserve money.
Yeah.
It just depends on the person and the thing. Who and what.
Yep. And I think
If we aren't...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
If we aren't willing to ask ourselves those questions, then we are never going to know if we are doing what we authentically feel we want to do, because we're just acting on autopilot.
And I think that's, like, for me, that's been my life. I didn't know that I could step back, step away from myself, disconnect, and look at myself from outside the window to see, okay, let me look at you, and how is this making you feel? What are you doing? Do I see patterns that are causing alarm? Oh, am I seeing feelings that are, and then I can re-engage with myself and be like, no, that's not good for me.
For me, it's like, I love what you're saying. It's like the autopilot. It's like just acting on a robot versus actually considering what I'm doing. How many times does the alarm go off? We get up, we shower, we dress, put our makeup on, do our hair, go out the door, go to work, have lunch, work some more, come home, and never once have considered our actual actions in that moment. I think it is so important to just actually consider and communicate with ourselves about what we are doing, why we are doing it, who we are doing it for.
And just to say this, it's not easy to do in the beginning. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of work. But I think it's through the process of discovering who we are, working through, right? Part of the reason, we in the 12 steps, right, we steps 1, 2, and 3, we've kind of have to, realize that, hey, our life is a little crazy, and right, we need an HP, and I'm ready to, like, okay, I got to let this go. And then we have these steps, next 3, 4, 5, and 6, and it's looking of ways that I've been harmed. How have I been harmed? What has occurred in my life to get me to this point, and understanding that, because if I don't understand what has been done to me, how I have been harmed, how I've been misled, how do I know what's true in there, and what's tangible in there, and what's in there for me to work with?
Right, I got to be able to look at myself. I've got to be able to look within, figure out what I'm doing, where I'm going, what I've done, what are my patterns, what is my responsibility.
And then that's where we get into,
how I interact with others.
Yes, you get into the next grouping of, steps. It's like, I feel like the steps are such a grouping of done the way they are, because it's like, all right, I need to get rid of this. I got to do something with this piece. Now I'm in the step of the people that have harmed me, and pulling that away. So it's like almost like I'm digging to get to me.
Right. If I don't, it's like a wound, right? It's like an old wound. You cannot treat an old, infected, deteriorated wound if you don't first excavate the dead tissue.
Yep.
Right? I have to pull off that necrotic tissue. I have to get rid of that dead tissue before I can get to the good, healthy stuff. So I can't just sew it up and close it up and expect it to be good. First, you have to remove all that bad stuff
Right.
first.
And then once you do that, it's like, okay, now I've got to the root of some of this stuff. I got to the things that I've played into my life, and the negatives and the good. I mean, right? We've got to look at both good and bad of the choices that I've made in my life. Now I can take that and be able to do something with it because I've cleaned my wound. I've gotten all that crap out of the way, and I can actually see what's there to work with.
Right, I can get some actual healing.
Yes. And
It's
so
crazy how that works.
it's important to do that, to focus on that. Right? It doesn't make it go away, clearly. It does. I mean, we're sitting here talking about, fear and control and letting
Nothing
things
goes
go,
away overnight.
right? What it is I'm just better at it. I can navigate it. I can say I'm telling myself a story, and I can say that's okay, and I can mean that that's okay.
The more I do it, the easier it gets.
Yeah.
I think that's a great place
Me
to end
too.
it for today. Another wonderful conversation. I love it when we do it like this.
I know, me too.
Listeners, thank you so much for your time. Come on, send us some messages. Come and join us. Give us some calls. Come be on the air with us. We want it.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Ashley.
Thanks, Don.
Have a great couple of weeks.
Bye.
We would like to thank you for joining us on this journey of self-discovery. Visit the Work It website at workityouareworthit.com to submit your questions and topics for future episodes. And remember, work it because you are worth it.